Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Frank Cowling, and I'm here to talk about Toe by Toe. Toe by Toe was written by my mother, Kida Cowling. I'm a bit short of time, so if you have any questions, please send me an email, and I promise that I will answer all emails in full by Monday at the latest. But right now I really have to just move quickly through the procedure. Okay. So what is Toe by Toe? Toe by Toe is this little red book, and it contains the whole Toe by Toe literacy scheme, which was developed by Kida Cowling over decades in the 80s and 90s in the UK. The whole scheme is contained in this single manual, Kida's famous little red book. It's now used all around the world, and we hardly advertise Toe by Toe. It spreads by word of mouth, which is a great testament to its effectiveness, I think. This is Toe by Toe in a grass hut in the South Pacific. This photo was sent to us by a teacher in Shropshire. I don't know how she got hold of it, but as you can see, somehow Toe by Toe, by word of mouth, has got to this grass hut in the South Pacific. And these are some Maori teenage boys that I met a few years ago in North Island, New Zealand. And as I'm sure you can imagine, for Maori teenage boys, their priorities in life are hunting, rugby, and Maori teenage girls. Very long list of priorities is learning to read in a second language. But as you can see, Toe by Toe has got there. Now, what does Toe by Toe do? All it claims to do is to provide the decoding skills necessary for this thing we call reading, the tools to do the job. Now, most non-dyslexic people hardly need to be explicitly taught these skills. They find them so easy to pick up, they're hardly aware of what they're doing. But if this process doesn't happen easily, it can be one of the most difficult things you ever have to do. And tutors often find that they are learning things about the English language along with their students because they've not needed to know these things before. So why does it work so well? It was written after 25 years of painstaking child and area research by Kida Cowling. Progress by tiny steps. That's why we call it Toe by Toe. Constant reinforcement and overlearning is also inherent to the scheme. And crucially, the use of nonsense words and the syllable division. Pronunciation. Toe by Toe makes no claims to cover all of the sounds used in the English language. For example, when we talk about vowels, all we talk about are 10 vowel sounds, 5 short vowel sounds, 5 long vowel sounds. And the correct sound is the sound that you use in your own speech community. That is what you should be teaching to the student. That is what you want to hear from the student too. Now, the sounds we recommend using in Toe by Toe are on the Toe by Toe website on page on this link here. Also, the correct answers for the various syllable division pages are on the same link. Now, Toe by Toe insists upon 3 consecutive ticks on 3 different days before we can make an assumption that a particular skill is lodged in the long-term memory. This is a very simple idea, but it's also a very important idea. It's one of the main planks of Toe by Toe. That this very simple procedure, if they demonstrate on 3 consecutive days that they know a particular skill, we can assume they know it. Before you begin, we would like you to get a reading age for your student or for your child. And again, if you look on this link on the Toe by Toe website, you will find a very simple reading age test, which will give you a reading age in terms of years and months, and that will be your baseline. And so as you as you move through toe by toe, their reading skills will improve, and you can keep on testing and see the child's improvement in terms of months and years, which is very important, of course, for confidence and motivation for the student. Now, this is an example of a completed grid in toe by toe. The first page in toe by toe is page 11, where the student has to show that they know the sounds associated with various symbols. That's on page 11. So like this here. So as you can see, it has to be A for arrow, B for butterfly, and so on. And then you go to page 13, and here the student has to demonstrate to you that they know the sounds associated with these symbols. These symbols that we know, of course, as the lower and uppercase letters. So as you can see in the first column here, we date it. In this case, the 5th of September, and we work our way methodically down the column. If they know the sound, you give it a tick. If they don't know the sound, you give it a dot. They've seen plenty of crosses in their school career, so give it a dot if they're unsure, if they make a mistake. So, O, H, K, X, E, F, G, B. For this student is causing problems, so you give it a dot. I, J, N, L, and so on. Then you go to the next column, follow the same procedure, date it, work your way methodically down the column. If they know the sound, give it a tick, otherwise give it a dot. So you do that for all of these 5 columns, and then I would ask you to go back to any mistakes, i.e. any weaknesses. So as you can see for this student here, they have a problem with B. Very common, actually, with struggling readers, the confusion with B and D and so on. So I would ask you to say to your student, okay, this says B. I want you to trace the shape of it with your finger and say the sound 3 times. What's it say? B, B, B. And then you go to the next weakness, which for this particular student is P. You ask the student to say 3 times, P, P, P. I'll come back to why we do this later on. So you cover all of the weaknesses using that procedure, and then you go to the next page. And you do as many pages and as many columns as you have time for in that particular session. But notice here, this student has got 3 consecutive ticks, the necessary 3 consecutive ticks for all of the skills on this page, except for one, which is, of course, ch, which has only got 2 consecutive ticks. Now, in such a case where there's only 1, 2, 3 problematic areas holding up progress, put a circle around the problem here, sh, and move it forward a few pages, right at the top of the page very neatly. Transfer the 2 ticks as well. The child will insist upon that. And that will allow you then to say to the child what he wants to hear, what he's absolutely desperate to hear, which is very simple. You never have to look at that again. And you keep the finished pages at the back of an elastic band like this. So the child can see all the pages that they never have to look at again as it slowly, steadily grows. Because you've got to remember that these students have been struggling with reading for years. They will have convinced themselves that they will never be able to master this mysteriously difficult skill. So your first task is to convince your child, your student, you can do this thing. And that's why it's so important that when they finish a page, you sign it off with a flourish. Well done. We're up and running now. And we can move on. You can also keep flicking to the back of the book and show them the kind of language there, you know. Psychologist, emphasis. You will be able to read that. Just keep finishing these pages with me one by one. Okay. Now, who can use toe by toe? Well, anybody can use toe by toe. If you can read, you can use toe by toe to teach someone else to read. So, of course, parents, grandparents, even older siblings. can work to teach a child to read. And of course, the bonding process then between the grandparent and the child, or the older sibling and the child, is something truly wonderful. So, parents, grandparents, siblings, in most schools, teaching assistants, as we call them in the UK, in some parts of the UK, they call them classroom assistants. In the USA, you call them paraprofessionals. So you don't have to be a qualified teacher, but you can take up this role of working with the struggling readers using toe by toe. Some schools, in fact, use buddy schemes where older students, let's say year 10s, are working with year 7s, and again the bonding between the older and the younger child is something truly wonderful, and that friendship will last them a lifetime. This is a toe by toe buddy scheme in a school in Lancashire. As you can see, this girl here, she'll be about 15 years old. She's working with a child in year 7, so he'll be about 11 or 12 years old, and she's teaching him how to read using toe by toe. This is a school in Perth in Western Australia. It's called the Methodist Girls College, and as you can see, the older girls are working with the younger students, teaching them how to read. So if you can read, you can use toe by toe to teach someone else to read. That is the beauty of the toe by toe scheme. Now, how often should toe by toe be used? Under ideal conditions, it should be done on a daily basis, preferably early in the morning. For optimum results, daily intervention is best. Having said that, even once a week still works, but it takes too long, because our priority has to be to get these kids reading as fast as possible so they can get on with the school lives like everyone else. So we highly recommend daily intervention. I appreciate it's difficult in a school setting, but for optimum results, that is what we recommend. You can take the weekend off, but at least 5 times a week on a daily basis for optimum results, because it gives them momentum, and momentum brings confidence. Now, this is page 45 in Toe by Toe. As you can see, these are all real words, but they're actually real words that only use very simple phonic skills. So you have short vowel sounds, I, a, I, e, o, and so on. You have plurals, so you have the s sound at the end, but also you have introduced initial blends at the start of the word. So you have, in the first column, you have st, tr, cl, and so on. But basic phonic skills. However, notice one important thing. In the shaded boxes at the bottom, we introduce non-phonetic words. English is cursed with words that don't make phonetic sense, and they cause huge problems for our struggling readers. So toe by toe drip feeds these problematic common words into the scheme as you work through the manual. So as you can see here, in the shaded boxes, we have somme, lager, these, and she. Now, SHE, it's almost all students will be able to read that, even though it does not say she. They will know that that says she, and so that's not a problem. But as you can see here, for this particular student, these is causing huge problems. So what do? Put a circle around the problematic word and you move it to a multisensory page. Every 20 pages or so in toe by toe, you have pages like this, blank grids. And this is where we work on these real problem areas. So, how do we do this? Well, I highly recommend using a multisensory approach. If you can involve more than one sense in this process, it makes the whole thing easier. Now, there are many ways to do this, but The way that I use is very simple and very effective. And anything that is simple and effective certainly gets my vote. So let me show you what I mean. This is a typical multisensory page. This student has a problem with do, who, does, and there. So let's talk about who. Who causes huge problems for many of our students because look at it. What a ridiculous way to represent the sound who. So I would say to the student, okay, I want to say the word who and trace it with your finger as you say it. So what's it say? Who. What's it say? Who. So you do that maybe 2 or 3 times, and then you say, okay, now I want to do it with your eyes closed, because we're trying to link what this word looks like in the mind's eye and link it to the sound who. So say eyes closed, what's it say? Who. And you work on that one word maybe 10 times. Eyes closed, what's it say? Who. What's it say? Who. And then you leave it for that day. But at the start of the next session, which is ideally the next day, the first thing you do is you go to the multisensory page like this that you've been working on, and you ask your student, say, what does that say? If they know, fine, give it a tick. If they don't, give it a dot. And you do that until it gets the requisite 3 consecutive ticks. Okay. So that's the multisensory approach that I personally recommend. It's simple and effective. Okay, so moving on. Now, the toe-by-toe scheme follows this particular teaching sequence. We introduce a skill. We practice that particular skill in a nonsense word. We practice in a real word. We practice in a piece of text. And then we bring in the next slightly more complex skill. That's our basic teaching sequence. Now, struggling readers from an early age, they tend to develop coping strategies in order to try and cope with this mysteriously difficult skill. Unfortunately, these can be very problematic. And the 2 main coping strategies young children use are memorization and guessing. Now, many of these students have developed tremendous memories. They can memorize whole paragraphs of text. But this is the last thing we want. We want the student working it out, decoding what this thing says in front of them on the page. Okay, so how do we do this? Now, Keda's first major breakthrough was when she began to use nonsense words. And the function of nonsense words is that it forces you to use decoding strategies to read these words correctly. So the use of nonsense words preempts the possibility of memorization and guessing. And the second major breakthrough that Keda made was when she developed her own unique syllable division, the way to break up and approach long words. This is different to the conventional one that they use in universities and so on, but this is the one that works and the one that we recommend. Okay, she developed her own very simple process for breaking up long words, and this is at the heart of the toe-by-toe method. If you understand this, you understand toe-by-toe. Now, if you've seen toe-by-toe, you will know there are many pages like this full of nonsense words. And if you've never seen toe-by-toe before and you're a parent and you can't understand why a child is struggling to read, and you look at this, you think, oh my God, what's all this nonsense? Well, these pages are the crux of toe-by-toe. If you understand what we're doing here, you understand toe-by-toe. So I'm going to spend a long time now just talking about how we break up these words. Now, all of you should have this sheet in front of you and a pen or a pencil. It's called a syllable division practice sheet. Okay, so we're going to work on that now. Okay. So we'll come back to this page in about 15 minutes. Now, the first thing that we do is we check that your child, your student, knows what a vowel looks like. They can recognize a vowel. So all they have to do in this sequence here is say yes if it's a vowel or no if it's not. So as you can see, no, 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 yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, and so on. Very easy. Even severely dyslexic students seldom have a problem with this, but we have to be sure, because the role of the vowel is absolutely essential for what we're trying to do. They have to know a vowel when they're looking at one. Okay, so we check that they can recognize a vowel, and then the basic syllable division is they start at the left-hand side of a word, and they move along until they come to one of these vowels. They jump over the vowel. They jump over the following consonant and they draw a line. So you go vowel, consonant, draw a line. And that's all you have to do, unless that consonant is a twin consonant, the same consonant twice. In that case, you draw it after the second consonant. In fact, it's not necessary to use this fancy word consonant. You say vowel, double letter, line. Okay, so you can see here, in this example, the first vowel is the I, followed by a consonant, draw a line. Next vowel is the U, but it's followed by two P's, so draw it after the second P, draw a line. Vowel, consonant, line, vowel, consonant, line. The next vowel is the A, that's followed by a D, so after the D, then the E, followed by a twin, so after the second T, and so on. One more thing I should say, never leave a single letter hanging in space at the end. We're breaking words up into manageable chunks, pieces. Okay, so using this method, let's look at 1 and 2 on this sheet that you have in front of you. Okay, so number 1, the first vowel is the U. So the first line comes after the F, and then after the second D, then after the N, then after the R, then after the second T, then after the M, after the N, after the second T. Can you draw the lines, please, for me in number 2? Just draw the lines. It's all you have to do using that procedure. Vowel consonant line or vowel twin line. All you have to do. Okay. I'm sorry to rush you, but I really have to get through this. Okay, so the sound of number 1 is off, ad, in, sir, it, im, an, ket, So use the short vowel sound unless there's a reason for the long vowel sound. And that reason usually is the magic E at the end of the word. So the sound of number 1 is off, ad, in, sir, it, im, an, ket, Now in number 2, the first line comes after the M, then after the R, then after the N, then after the D, then after the R, after the double L, and after the Z. You don't draw a line after the N, that would leave the G hanging in space. So the last line is after the Z, or the Z, as you call it in the USA. So in number 2, the sound of number 2 is im, stin, ad, were, cul, as, ing. Some of you will have recognized a real word in the middle of number 2. You'll have seen work, and you'll have been tempted to draw the line after the K. Well, no, you have to follow the rule. Vowel, consonant, line, so that comes after the R. The K is the start of the next syllable. So im, stin, ad, were, cul, as, ing. Okay, so that's the first rule. Now, second syllable division rule is these combinations, we call them consonant clusters are sh, th, ch, and k, i.e. they make a single discrete sound. So you cannot split the sound. Sh, th, ch, and k. And so because it's a single sound, then you cannot draw a line in the middle, can you? So let's look at the example here. So the first vowel is the U. So the line comes after the K. Next vowel is the I. So the line comes after the sh sound. Then after the double L, as in 1 and 2. Then after the N, after the sh, after the second F, after the ch, after the n, and after the th. Okay, so can you look at 3 and 4 on your sheet, please, and draw the lines for me using this procedure here. So find a vowel, then if it's followed by a sh, a th, a ch, and a k, then we draw it after the H or the K. Okay, so sorry to rush you, but I really have to get through this. Right, now number 3, where does the first line go? After the sh, then after the r, then after the n, then after the k sound, then after the n. Now after the n, the n sound, where's the next vowel? The next vowel is, of course, the A. But that's followed by a double D. So you have to draw the line after the second D. So that syllable, the sound of that syllable is thrad. After the P, it's followed by a single letter. So the last line is after the double D. So the sound of the ending is, of course, oop or yoop. It doesn't matter whether you say oop or yoop, but it has to be the long vowel sound. So the sound of number 3 is ish, r, un, dak, n, trad, oop, or yoop. And number 4. Can you read number 4 to me, please? I'll read it to yourself. What does it say, number 4? Draw the lines and then read it. Draw the lines using the rules from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay. So the sound of number 4 is op, ak, off, ul, cham, pen, ding. Now, I'm sure that many of you will be bewildered at this point, and you'll think, oh my God, what's all this about? And you're finding this difficult, because I have to go through this very quickly. Toe by Toe goes through this whole process over 2 or 3 months. I have to do it in 10, 15 minutes. So don't worry if it all seems a little bit bewildering at this point. As you work through Toe by Toe with your child, all will come clear. Just follow the instructions, small step at a time, toe by toe. That's why it's called Toe by Toe. Small steps to progress.
All right.
Right, sorry, I can't answer any questions at the moment. Please, if you have questions, then just send me an email, and I will get back to you by Monday at the latest. Okay, now the next stage is that these combinations, again, they make a single sound, ch and th. So effectively, we have to draw the line after the H in both cases. So you can see in the example, the first vowel is the E, followed by an N, so you draw a line. But then there's an I, but that's followed by a ch sound, so you draw it after the H. Then after the sh, after the n, the th, and so on. Can you draw the lines in 5 and 6 for me, please? Just 5 and 6. So the same rules apply from 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 5 and 6. You cannot split these consonant clusters, as in the example here. Again, Please don't panic if you're finding this difficult, because I really do have to go through it very quickly. But Toe by Toe does this over 3 or 4 months, or even longer in some cases, depending upon the severity of the child's dyslexia. Okay. Right. So number 5, where's the first line? After the K sound, i.e. after the K, and then after the R, after the Ch sound, so after the H, then after the F sound, so again after the H, after the double D, after the R, and after the T. Now, can you read that for me, number 5? Read it to yourself. What does it say? It says, ok, etch, of, id, et, own. Some of you will have been tempted to say 1. Why did you say 1? Because, of course, it says 1. But here we have to apply the decoding skills. There's an E at the end, so the sound is own. It's only 1 in isolation, 1, 2, 3, but here we've got to apply the decoding skill. Ok, etch, of, id, et, own. And number 6, itch, ash, or, f, m, af, odd, in. Don't worry if you're bewildered. As you work through Toe by Toe, all will come clear. I have to rush this. I'm sorry. Right, so next. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about these vowel digraphs here. O, A, and E as represented by an OA and an AI and a double E. The sounds, of course, are O, A, E. The long sounds of the first vowel, O, A, and E. Okay, so you can see here, and with some children, it's a good idea. You can say when 2 vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. So we treat them as if they're a single vowel sound, but it's a long sound, but it's a single sound. So you can see in the example here, the sound of that is, try it first, and then I'll give it to you. So what's the sound of the one? Neat. Neat, ish, ode, en, dill, ain, seth, ish, ing. That's fine. So the last 2 nonsense words for practice. So the first vowel sound in number 7 is, of course, the E. So that's your vowel, is the E. So now we just apply those skills that we've gone through in 1 to 6. So the first line comes after the M, then after the S, the T is the start of the next syllable, then after the sh, after the p, after the n, and after the double D. So the sound of number 7 is team, s, tosh, ap, ain, did, Okay. And number 8, try and read it to yourself. Number 8. What's it say? Hogue, team, ale, sir, van, I. Okay. So that is the syllable division. If you understand this, and I appreciate, I've had to go through this very quickly. Some of you will be, some of you will be totally bewildered. You'll be scared. Oh, I don't know what to do. But don't worry. As you work through Toe by Toe, methodically, 1 page at a time, all these things will come into place. Okay. Now, I've showed you this page before. This is page 155 in Talk by Talk. So what particular skill do you think we're practicing here? What particular phonics skill are we practicing? Well, I'll tell you, we're practicing the sound A as represented by an A in front of an I. So, using the skills that we just covered, let's look at the first column. And let's try and read the first column. So number one at the top is mate at oi. Next word down is bait-ish. Next word down, raid, pate. Next word down, ain, peck, Next word down, pain, a, tog. Next word down, n, say, rip, aid, ap, ot. Okay. That is the syllable division. If you understand this, you understand toe by toe. But if you don't understand it, please don't panic. All will come clear as you work your way methodically through toe by toe. Okay. Now, let's look at this word here. Has anybody here studied Greek? I don't know because I can't hear you, but I imagine very few of you will have studied Greek at any point in their lives. So my question to you is, what does this word say? Okay, well, as I hope you know, it says phlegm. Now, English is a difficult language because it's borrowed words and phrases and things from different languages and so on. So toe by toe is absolutely useless for this word here, phlegm. Toe by toe cannot teach you how to read this strange word, right? Okay. So toe by toe has failed with this word. Toe by toe cannot teach you to read every word in the English language. I'm sorry. Okay.
Open it, Rob.
All right. I'm sorry. I can hear people talking, but I cannot respond to that. I have to get through this. And as I say, if you've got questions, please email me. Okay. So toe by toe cannot help you with phlegm. However, look at this word here. Where would you draw the lines?
Grammatic.
Okay, so find the first vowel and then jump over the next letter and draw a line. Find the next vowel, jump over the next letter and draw a line. What's it say? It says phlegmatic. So toe by toe cannot help you with phlegm, but it can teach you how to read phlegmatic. But as I say, toe by toe cannot teach everything. The English language is too crazy. Okay, so the use of nonsense words is in fact restricted when there's a choice of sounds. So, for example, the vowel digraph EA together, working together, in English has got two sounds, hasn't it? It's got the short sound as in head and the long sound as in meat. So it's E or E. Now, students going through toe by toe on page 143 will only use real words to practice this particular skill. But at this point in toe by toe, you have to say to your student, okay, this vowel digraph, this combination has got two possible sounds, E or E. So if it doesn't sound right with one, try the other one, right? And so This is halfway through toe by toe, so most students can cope with this. They don't have a particular problem. If they're not sure, try both sounds and see which sounds correct, which sounds like a real word. However, as I say, the English language is crazy. So we have to live with the fact that English spelling is crazy. So what toe by toe is doing is it's teaching the two main sounds of that vowel digraph, E and E. But let's look at these words here. We've got steak. So what's the sound of EA in steak? It is, of course, A, or break. In meander, it's ER. In creative, it's EA. In real, it's E. In reality, it's ER. In early, it's but in heart, it's R. We cannot win with this language. So toe by toe is an approximation. It cannot teach you every particular decoding skill because the language is too insane. It teaches you skills applicable.
Black in the place.
It teaches you skills applicable most of the time, and that's all it can do. Okay. So moving on. What does this say? It says, of course, the Irish surgeon loved to drink Guinness. Okay. So what is strange, please, about the word Guinness or the written representation of that sound? What is strange about Guinness? Well, I'll tell you. What on earth is the U doing there? Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll explain it. Okay. Toe by toe teaches, round about page 180, it teaches there are two sounds for the letter G. There's the soft sound, J, and the hard guttural G sound. And so if the G is followed by an E, an I, or a Y, you say the soft sound. If it's followed by A, O, or U, you say the hard sound, G. Okay, that's the rule that toe by toe teaches you. So if I go back to Guinness, which I always do, why is there a U in Guinness? What's its function? Why is it there? It's there, of course, to make it hard, right? To make you say Guinness rather than Guinness. That's why there's a U in Guinness. Okay, so why is there an E in surgeon? What's it doing? What's its function? Why is there an E in surgeon? It's there, of course, to make it soft, the soft sound. Otherwise, you would say surgeon, wouldn't you? So what I'm saying is there are these things going on in the English language all the time. If you're not dyslexic, if you learn to read without any problem, you'll be blissfully unaware of this. That says surgeon, that says Guinness, so what? You don't even think about it. But if you are dyslexic or you have some other factor causing you huge problems to learn how to learn to read, these things can really do your head in. Oh no, what's going on now? It's a crazy language. And toe by toe cannot teach everything, but it teaches skills applicable most of the time. And that's all it can do. Okay. So we teach your students these particular skills, the two sounds of the letter G, and then we practice using nonsense words. Again, this is our process. You practice in a nonsense word, then you practice in a real word, and everything falls into place. So let's look at the third column here. Okay. So where does the first line go in the third column? It comes after the R, then after the K sound, i.e. after the K, doesn't it? So what's the sound of the first nonsense word in the third column? It is mar, jik, 8. Let's look at the next word down. What does it say? It says J, ach, ing. The next word down, the G is followed by an S. So what's it say? Ag, sob, but this G is followed by an E. So that's germ, isn't it? Ag, sob, germ. Next word down, the G is followed by an R. So it's grib and ter. Next G is followed by an E. So it's ger, tip, ode. Sap, gin, eight. Ger, min, ok. This is difficult. Your students will really struggle with this page. It has to be said. But notice one very important thing here. This is page 185 in Toe by Toe. It's here. It's 2/3 of the way through the book. So what I'm saying is, if your student has got 2/3 of the way through the book, after struggling with reading for maybe years, they will know, I'm finally getting a handle on this reading thing, this mysteriously difficult skill. I can do it. And so even though it's difficult, they'll keep on trying, they'll keep on having a go until they get it right. And that's all that we need them to do. Just keep on trying, keep on trying, keep on trying. So that's why it's so important in Toe by Toe to praise their success all the time, point out how well they've done.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, how many pages they've.
What are you having tomorrow? Are you going to John's? Oh, is he back? And who is he away? Oh.
I'm sorry, someone's got the microphone on, and it's really spoiling things for us all. What we do about it?
I'm just going to.
All right. Okay. Okay. So moving on. Of course, having taught you these skills for the two sounds of the letter G, there are, of course, exceptions. There are always exceptions, and there's nothing we can do about it. I'm sorry. So you can see here, get, give, girl, gelding, they all break the rule. Together, gimmick, gift, giddy, giggle, git, and so on. There's nothing we can do about it. There are always exceptions. English is a crazy language. I'm sorry. Nothing we can do about that. Okay. So let's look at these 4 words. So what do they say, these 4 words? Read them to yourself. First word is concave, cellar, concert, circuit. So what does that tell you about the sound of the letter C? Well, it's very similar to the letter G. There are 2 sounds. There's a soft sound and the hard sound. And in the same way, if the C is followed by an E, an I, or a Y, use the soft sound, sir. If it's followed by A, O, or U, then use the hard sound, K. So applying that rule, we look at page 191. So let's look at the last column. Can you read those words in the last column using the toe-by-toe principles, the toe-by-toe rules? Okay, the first word says Sir Eb Ode. Next word down says back it. Next word down says man sid een. Next word down says Fran sid ok. Next word down en sir I. Next word down ban, seem, o. Next word down, sun, sid, ain. Again, this is difficult. Your students will struggle with this, but it's page 191. The students know by this point that they are getting there. They're finally getting a handle on this reading thing. And so they'll be determined and they'll have a go. And that's all we need them to do. To just have a go and keep on having a go, and we'll get there. Okay. Now, there is an exception to the twin consonant rule, and that is when we have a double C. There are always exceptions in English. There's nothing we can do about it. So normally we would draw the line after the second twin. So as you can see in the example, connecting. However, with a double C, we have to draw the line in the middle of the two C's if it's followed by an E or an I. And we have to say both sounds, i.e., we have to say k and s. So we say ks. So you can see in the examples here, in the first example, the double C is followed by an I. So where do you draw the line? You draw it in the middle, don't you? So what's the sound of that word? It says ik, sip, ode. But if you look at the next word across, the double C is followed by an A, isn't it? So what do? We draw it after the second C. And what's the sound of that word? Suck and ping. Next word down in the first column, double C is followed by an E. So you draw the line in the middle and you say tack, sell, ot. Next word across, followed by an O. So nick, rit. Next word down, double C is followed by an I. So what do you say? Ac, sim, ot. Oc, sim, et. Sac, alter. Mac, on, So that is how toe by toe deals with the double C sounds. And as we can see, in reality, every child's favorite vegetable is brock, all, but the next word across, what's it say? Ac, sid, en, tal. Next word down in the first column, what's it say? Ac, os, ted. But the next word across, followed by an E, so what do you say? Access or E, accessory. Next word down, oc, sid, ent, and des, ik, eight. So that is toe by toe. That is how it works. Unfortunately, in this presentation, I kept on hearing voices, and I hope that didn't spoil things for everyone there, because you all should have been muted. But there's nothing that I could do about that from this end. So I apologize for that. But as I say, if you have any questions about toe by toe, I am more than happy to respond to any email. You send the emails to frank@toe-by-toe.co.uk. If you send me an email, I guarantee I will get back to you before Monday, or at least before Monday is over with. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. This is Kida, a few years after the publication of Toe by Toe in 1994, and she's at a school in Scotland, in Glasgow. And as you can see, all these children are learning how to read using Toe by Toe. At that time, the toe by toe was in a ring binder, but of course we kept on losing pages from the ring binder and so on. So we developed toe by toe to have this kind of cover here. As I say, any questions that you have, please do contact me. I hope you found that interesting and hopefully enjoyable. I'm sure many of you will find it difficult, but the fact is, the problem is, it's a difficult language. But toe by toe will work as long as you stay on the case, stay focused, encourage your child, try and do it on a daily basis. We recommend 20 minutes per session, but if you can't do that, even 5 minutes a day is okay, but do it every day if you can, and do it in the morning while the mind is still fresh. And I guarantee toe by toe will change your child's life. And the process of going through toe by toe with your child will change your life too. Thank you very much. Good luck. And thank you.